All right, welcome to another trading analytics video. It looks like we were able to get through a few of our big tech earnings. We had Meta report yesterday as well as Microsoft. Today we had Apple. Although their service business keeps growing at a rapid pace, we did have an iPhone sales miss overall. So with all that being said, the stock is still up in the after hours, which is a very good sign for what we're trying to achieve here at Trading Analytics in the NASDAQ 100 as far as some of our trades go. But let's go ahead and see how this impacts the indexes overall. Kicking things off for us right now is going to be the S&P 500 or SPY. And so I'm going to try to keep this one as simple as possible. It's a bull trend at this particular moment, right? We are definitely putting in our first higher low. At least that's what it looks like. And I'll go ahead and put that on the screen here. This is our first low, and then here's circled is our second higher low. And, you know, just like I mentioned in the previous video, we want to put in our next higher high on the S&P 500. And so that needs to look something like this, somewhere around 615, provided that we're able to finish filling out the gap right around 607 and go ahead and put in that new high. Again, we might encounter some, resistance here at the previous all-time high. However, in a bull trend where you're putting in higher lows and higher highs, the idea is exactly that, a higher high, right? And so I wouldn't complicate this one. We're looking for higher prices. It's literally that simple. And unless the market gives you a reason to become bearish, you should remain on the bull train, at least for now, right? And so again, if you start gapping up towards the gap fill, and then from here, if you start seeing sellers step in and we are able to break the previous higher low that we put in, well, this right here is going to be your signal that all bets are off and it's a bearish tone. And then we're probably going to come down here and fill this gap right around 584. Now, once again, I'm not expecting this. I think it is a bull trend, and I think we're going to put in the higher high. However, just understand that you need to be prepared for all scenarios as a trader, right? So again, I always say this: if this, then that. That means if this happens, then you do that. So if we continue on this bull trend, right, we're going to stay on the bull, right? Now, again, if we reject after the gap fill and we break below the previous higher low that we put in, then again, we need to get risk off. If this happens, then we do that, right? And then at that point, like I mentioned before, we will be preparing for this gap fill. So I do think it's as simple as that. Keep it very simple in your trade plan in regards to the S&P 500, and I think you guys will be fine. As of right now, there's no reason to be bearish on this chart. You should be expecting higher prices. We do have some inflation data coming out tomorrow. However, I think a lot of this stuff is already priced in into the market. I don't think there's anything on that report that the market is already not expecting. However, it's still a factor. It still brings in volatility, so still be on your toes going into tomorrow. All right, on the NASDAQ 100 or QQQ, very similar to the S&P 500, we are putting in our first higher low, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. You can see we put in our low here and then a higher low. And in our Discord server, we did go long on the NASDAQ 100. I mentioned earlier in the video that we did have a vested interest in this particular index. So we did go long right when it, kind of put in the higher low. And then obviously we got a retest of this breakout area right here. So again, once we got the retest, this is where we went long right here. And so we are targeting this particular gap that we have here right around 528 and change. And so that gap is our first target basically from going long. So we're basically right below that. I think right now in the after hours, we're sitting right around 525. So we're basically right at the target that I initially set out for. Now, again, when you're putting in higher lows, you just like I mentioned in the S&P 500, you are looking to put in a higher high. And so I do think that higher high could take us towards 538 and change. And so again, on the NASDAQ, I think it's very simple, right? Just like I mentioned in the S&P 500, you want to remain bull while we have a bull trend intact. And there's no reason to be bearish on this chart. I do think you still need to remain diligent because there is a chance that, there could be rejections that happen. And we do have a pesky gap down at right around 492, I believe. I think it's sitting right around here. And so, yeah, you can see it's right here, right? And so, again, we didn't fully fill that gap yet. And so that is still sitting down there. However, I don't believe that's what's going to happen. Again, when you're putting in higher lows and higher highs, Again, the chances are of this becoming a breakaway gap is pretty high, or we might just come back and fill it at a later date. But as of this moment right now, which is what's important to us, we are going to be looking to put in that higher high, which is going to take us somewhere around 538. And so, congratulations to all those in the Discord server who were able to get in on this trade. It's been a very good option swing trade for us. And yeah, I think we're going to be doing a lot more of that this year. We're going to be looking for lots of swings in the indexes when the risk reward is in our favor. So once again, if you're not in the Discord server, you can feel free to join us. The link to that will be in the top pinned comment right down there in the comment section. So feel free to come join us and yeah, get in on all the fun. All right, I wanted to quickly put this stock on your radar, which is ticker symbol PLTR or Palantir Technologies, which is ran by Alex Karp. He's obviously running a very good company here. I think they're debt free. I think this company IPO'd right around $10 per share. And here we are at $81, right? And so this is basically 800% return if you grabbed it around the IPO price. I know in 2022, this name did dip right, I think it went down to like $6. And if you grabbed it there, you're a very lucky guy or gal out there. So congratulations to you for anyone who loaded down in those areas. But that's not why we're here. We want to talk about the particular trade idea that is on the table here. So on the daily chart, we do have a very beautiful inverted head and shoulder, and we are starting to get that bull breakout. The previous high was right around 84.79. And so I do think Palantir has an opportunity to retest these highs and possibly exceed them. Keep in mind, we do have earnings on Monday. Now, history says that they typically beat on their earnings. But again, I'm not really sure how the valuation is on this particular company, and how frothy it might be or how expensive it might be. I haven't looked into all of that before I spoke about this. However, just from a pure chart standpoint, again, if the NASDAQ 100 and some of those other indexes seem to do well, that generally acts as a support to the overall market, and typically names like this move up alongside of the market. And so that's what we're generally expecting, with the indexes putting in higher lows and higher highs potentially. And so again, we have an inverted head and shoulder here. I would imagine this moves up with the rest of the market. But again, like I mentioned, just keep in mind, they do have their earnings on Monday. So you're going to have that in your trade plan. All right, last but certainly not least, I want to jump over to Alphabet or Google stock. And at the particular moment, this is my favorite chart in the entire stock market, at least at this moment. Again, the last chart that I liked the most was Amazon, and that went on to do about 300% at peak. And so I think Google has a lot of that potential here. And again, I'll go ahead and go through why I believe that is. And so on the daily chart, we are above all of our moving averages. We do have a very nice flag-like structure and consolidation going on here on the daily chart. And we did put in our first higher low within this flag-like structure. And so I do believe that Google has a date with higher prices. 207, I think, is the short-term price target, which is this upper trend line here. Now, again, I think the full measure move is going to take us somewhere around 220. Now, we do have earnings right around February 4th, and I do believe that earnings is going to be required in order for us to get up towards that price target at 220. And so, again, I do have a comparison that I want to show you guys here. And so it reminds me a lot of Bitcoin before Bitcoin had its big breakout. And so you can see that we have this very nice cup-like structure on Bitcoin, which went into a nice little flag-like structure, which basically broke out after that. So we went from a cup into a flag. And if you look at Google, right, very similar, right? We went into this cup-like structure here, and that cup-like structure basically took us into the flag, right? And so if you jump back over to Bitcoin, once we finished flagging, there was a big move up that we eventually got. And I think Google has a date with that, right? I think Google is going to have a very similar move, like I said, towards 220. It does come with risk because you're going to have to go through the ER most likely to get the full move that we're looking for. However, I do believe we can get 207 before the ER. I think that's entirely possible, and that still represents a pretty good gain if you're trading options from here. And so I don't like anything on options before February 7th. Well, obviously, there's only one other date, which would be tomorrow's expiration. So I think February 7th would be the earliest you should go. But if you want to be even safer, February 14th. And that should get you through the ER and especially if you want to try to swing for the fences and get that move towards 220. Now, all that being said, none of this is financial advice. You'd be taking any of this information at your own risk. This is obviously not a guaranteed win for anybody. Just because it played out like this on Bitcoin does not mean that it has to play out the exact same way on Google stock. So keep that in mind. It's just a stock that I really like at this particular time. I love the structure. I love the consolidation. I love the fact they're above all of our moving averages. So I do think this one has a date with higher prices. With all that being said, guys, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. We can help get this information out to more people. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. In addition to that, again, if you want to trade with us and get, you know, the inside on a lot of these trade ideas early, right? Because it comes to YouTube pretty late, right? But if you want to get in on these trade ideas early, you can use the link in the pinned comment section below, which takes you guys right to the Discord server. And from there, yeah, I think we'll have a great year trading. So that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend if I don't talk to you guys before then. And also remember that we do have some data tomorrow, like I mentioned earlier in the video, which deals with inflation. So again, yeah, it's going to be a pretty fun day tomorrow. So we'll catch you guys later. God bless and good night.